Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to another Season 7 League of Legends Champion Guide. Today, I'm going to be covering Xayah, the Rebel.
I can never resist an invitation to dance.
Alright, so let's hop right into this Xayah guide by looking at her pros and her cons. So first off the top, she's a very good farmer because of her high wave clear. She can use her Q ability combined with all of her feathers to easily clean up minion waves. This of course means she's also able to push very quickly, so if you leave a Xayah in a lane alone, she can take your tower pretty fast. Xayah is also a pretty strong team fighter because of all of her AoE damage. If you let a Xayah go unchecked, she's going to destroy your entire team. She has some really strong built-in CC, which is even AoE, and her ultimate dodges everything. If something like a Zed ultimates you, if you use it properly, you're going to take no damage. Finally, Xayah is very fun and rewarding. She's got a very unique playstyle, and if played properly, she can be a very strong champion. Now, Xayah, however, lacks mobility. She doesn't have any sort of built-in escape. She does get a little bit of bonus movement speed from her W, but that's it. That means strong positioning is definitely going to be key. Now, Xayah is also a pretty mediocre champion early on because she needs to build up her feathers, and if she can't get it off in those quick trades, she's not really going to do much damage. When she has a bunch of attack speed, however, and she can get those feathers on the map rather quickly, she's going to be a very strong champion, and she's one of the best in the mid and late game. For your masteries, you want to go 18 Ferocity and 12 Resolve, grabbing Warlord's Bloodlust as your keystone mastery. Warlord's Bloodlust is going to give you some really nice sustain as well as some movement speed, which are two things that Xayah can definitely make some good use out of. Another really good alternative, however, would be going Fervor of Battle. It works great on Xayah because she does have an attack speed steroid on her W, and it will increase your damage output. Either way, in the rest of your masteries, you pretty much just want to focus on increasing her damage as much as possible on the Ferocity side, while getting some increased tankiness and regeneration in the Resolve side. For your rune page, you want to go for attack damage reds, armor yellows, magic resist blues, and attack speed quints. This is the very standard AD carry rune setup that you always see, and it of course works great on Xayah as well. With the attack damage and the attack speed, last hitting is going to be a little bit easier, and your trades are going to be a bit more effective. You'll then of course have that extra chunk of magic resist and armor just to be a little bit more durable in the bot lane, so you won't take a ton of damage back. If you were against a really easy matchup, then you could of course go for glyphs of attack speed as well to increase your damage just a little bit more, but if you are against something like a Brand or a Xayah, then you would want that magic resist. For your summoner spells, you want to stick with a very normal setup and get Flash and Heal. Flash is a 100% requirement on Xayah since she has a squishy AD carry and it can be used multiple times throughout the game to save your life. You can even use it offensively to close a gap on a target so you can start chasing them with the movement speed from your deadly plumage. It's of course also going to be great to get into a position to root enemies with your Blade Caller if they're not in the path of your feathers. Now, heal is also required in the bot lane because it can be used to save both yourself and your teammates. The bonus movement speed on activation is also going to be great for escaping or chasing if you do need that extra speed boost. Now let's look at your passive Clean Cuts, which is great because it gets feathers on the map and does damage to enemies in a line. After casting an ability, Xayah's next 3 basic attacks penetrate all enemies along their path, dealing 100% damage to her main target and 50% pass-through damage to other enemies. At her maximum attack range, a feather will be left in the ground for 6 seconds, and Xayah can store up to 5 empowered attacks. Now this also has a second part called Lover's Leap. If either Xayah or Rakan is recalling, the other may move nearby and activate their own recall to join them. Both reach base at the time of which the initiator's recall ends. So this ability is mainly to get feathers on the map and do AoE damage in a line. This works on all of your abilities, so you want to make sure you're following those abilities with basic attacks so you can get out a bunch of feathers. Keep in mind as well, you can only store up to 5 empowered auto attacks, so if you use 2 abilities, you're actually missing 1 feather. The second part is a little gimmicky and it only works if you do have a Rakan with you. It's kinda cool though because you can start recalling and you can finish up a couple minions and then join his recall as if you started it at the same time. Your Q ability is double daggers and it does some nice damage in a line and also puts 2 feathers onto the map. After a brief windup, Xayah hurls 2 feather blades in quick succession in the target direction and leaving 2 feathers on the ground at maximum range. The feather blades deal physical damage to all enemies they pass through, reduced to 50% against units beyond the first. So this here is a pretty solid ability because it does have a 1100 range, which of course makes it great for poking. This is also going to quickly get 2 feathers on the map, which will allow you to combo. By using just this ability and those 3 empowered auto attacks, you're already going to have 5 feathers. Now, although this ability is pretty strong, Xayah's kit is really good, and I usually save this ability for last. Early on in the lane phase, however, you will want to try to poke with this ability as much as you can, and of course also get feathers on the ground. Your W ability is Deadly Plumage, which is a really solid attack speed steroid that can also give you bonus movement speed. When activated, Xayah surrounds herself with a storm of feather blades for 4 seconds, granting her bonus attack speed. Additionally, her basic attacks hurl lesser bolts from the storm, dealing 20% bonus physical damage to her target and granting 30% bonus movement speed for 1.5 seconds. If Rakan is within 1000 units of Xayah, he will also gain deadly plumage. So this here is a really solid ability, and it's usually the one I max second. The bonus attack speed is really going to increase your damage and allow you to get your feathers out quicker. Now the bonus movement speed you're granted whenever you attack is also fantastic for orb walking and trying to kite enemies. You have to remember that Xayah is not the most mobile champion out there, and this 30% bonus movement speed can save your ass over and over again from assassins, so make sure you're attacking when you're trying to run away. Your E ability is Blade Caller, and this does an absolute ton of damage that can even root your target, making it your best ability. When activated, Xayah recalls all her feathers, dealing physical damage to enemies they strike on the way towards her, increased by between 0 and 50% based on her critical strike chance. Minions will take 50% of this damage. Each feather to strike a target deals 10% less damage than the last, with a minimum of 10% damage. Enemies struck by 3 or more feathers are rooted for 1 second. So this ability has the potential to do an absolute ton of damage if you can get a lot of feathers out quickly. If you can get around 8 feathers around a squishy target and auto-attack them just a couple times, if you use your Blade Caller, they're pretty much just going to die instantly. It of course also increases the damage based on your critical strike chance, so guess what kind of build we're going for? It's going to have a lot of crit chance. Other than that, you'll pretty much just want to focus on getting feathers on the map as Xayah and then using this ability to pull them through enemies so they take a ton of damage. Max this ability first. Last, we have your ultimate Feather Storm, which is great to dodge all of the abilities in League of Legends and also get 5 feathers on the map. When activated, Xayah leaps into the air, becoming untargetable for 1.5 seconds, but still able to move. After a short delay, she unleashes a volley of feather blades forward in a cone, dealing physical damage to all enemies struck and leaving a line of 5 feathers at the end of Feather Storm's maximum range. This ability also has a 100% AD ratio, so it's also going to do some pretty solid damage. Now, I usually like to use this ability as a defensive because it can dodge everything in League of Legends since you are untargetable for 1.5 seconds. If something like a Zed or a Syndra ultimates you, you can use this ability and you're not going to take the damage. Now with that said, it's also great in offensive situations because it does have that AD ratio, and 5 feathers will allow you to instantly cast your E ability and finish off targets. For your skill order, you first want to put a point into your ultimate whenever you can at 6, 11, and 16. You'll then want to max your E ability first because it does by far the most damage in your kit and it's great for clearing minion waves as well. Then I'll max my W ability second. It's a really solid ability because of the bonus attack speed and movement speed, and it's great in both team fights and duels. So that of course means you'll have to max your Q ability last, although it is a fantastic ability, it's just not as strong as the E and the W. Either way, you'll want to point in it early on because it's great for poking the enemy champions and getting feathers out quickly. I'll usually grab it at level 1, but taking W level 1 is also fantastic if you think you're going to be in very aggressive trades early on in the game. Now let's look at a couple of your best support synergies, and first up of course is Rakan. Rakan works great with you because you guys actually passively buff each other's abilities, at least some of them. He's also got some pretty damn strong engage and CC, which will allow you to set up your feathers and pull off your combos. He's also going to give you some pretty decent shields and healing as well, which is going to make the lane phase just a little bit easier. Next up I have Leona, who's another champion that has a lot of crowd control and a really strong engage, which will yet again allow you to pull off your combos. In this lane, just focus on farming as much as you can, and whenever a Leona engages, it's time for you to follow up with your damage. Leona doesn't have a ton of mobility, and she definitely relies on you following up whenever she goes, because if you don't, she's just gonna die and there's no escaping for her, so follow up with your damn damage. Next here is a much more passive support, but still very strong, Xayah. As you should know by this point in the guide, you don't have a ton of mobility, and Xayah has an absolute ton of peel, so she can save you multiple times throughout a single game. Her shielding ability is also incredibly strong because not only does it block damage, it also adds attack damage to you, making your damage even better than it already is. Whenever she puts a shield on you, make sure you're trading with the enemy. And last here, we've got Sona. She's a really strong support champion in solo queue right now because she adds a ton of sustain for you with her W and a bunch of damage with her Q ability. With a Sona, you'll therefore want to be trading with the enemy as much as possible because not only do you guys have a lot of damage, you're going to have the heal to sustain back up. When you guys are level 6, you're also going to have a lot of kill potential on the enemy bot lane because if she lands her stun, you can follow up with all your damage and your root, killing the enemies fairly easy. During the lane phase, you'll first want to focus on getting as many last hits as possible so you're able to buy your core items. In between those last hits, you'll want to try to harass the enemy. Poke them as much as you can with your double daggers and clean cuts, and once you've set up a bunch of feathers, use your blade collar to nuke and root them. As long as you set up at least 3 feathers, it will root the target and do a lot of damage. Now once you're level 6, you'll also have some added kill potential or a really solid defensive because of your Feather Storm, depending on how you use it. Of course, you will have to decide how to use it based on the enemies you are against. Use it accordingly. In teamfights, you'll want to follow the golden rule of being an AD carry player, which is attacking the targets closest to you. If one of them is a carry, of course attack that one. If you end up going too far into a fight, you'll eat a crowd control probably, and die rather quickly. In the actual fight, you'll want to get down a bunch of feathers quickly and whenever possible, pull them through the squishier targets to nuke them with your E ability. Now it is also very viable to root targets coming towards you so you can easily peel away with the bonus movement speed from your W. I'll then usually use my Feather Storm as a defensive. Make sure you know who the biggest threat on the map is and dodge as much of their kit as possible whenever they use it on you. Now let's look at a couple of your hard matchups, and first up is Jinx. Jinx is a pretty damn strong champion because the attack speed stored on her Q ability, so you don't want to fight her too much in the early game. Wait until you have some pretty good critical strike chance and then destroy her with your E ability. You'll also have to be fairly careful in the later stages of the game because her rocket range is pretty damn long and she will outrange your autos. You are, however, a much better team fighter as long as she doesn't get resets, so try to get to that stage of the game. Next up we have Miss Fortune, who's a big time lane bully early on in the game, so you don't want to fuck with her. You will have to make sure you're not behind minions that are about to die because if she does bounce her shots, you're going to get destroyed. One thing you can do in teamfights if you are caught in her ultimate is use your own to make you untargetable so you don't take a bunch of that damage. This is also going to do an absolute ton of damage if you do follow it up with your E ability, so if anybody else follows up on Miss Fortune, she's going to be dead. Next here I've got Tristana, who's one of the best AD carries at the moment. Now even though you like extended trades where you can build up a lot of feathers, she likes those too, and early on in the game, her trades are going to be a lot more effective. Try to keep your trades a little bit shorter in the early game because if she blows up bombs on you with full stacks, you're going to get wrecked. Now even though she's also a really good late game champion, you are a much better team fighter, so try to team fight as much as you can and do not 1v1 her. Last here I've got Twitch, who's another really strong team fighter. Twitch is a champion you can be more aggressive with early on in the game because his trades are not that crazy good. In late game teamfights, however, if he goes unchecked, he can destroy your entire team. Try to bully him as much as you can in the early and the mid game, and if you do get to the late game, root him at all costs and pray to the gods that your team follows up because he has to be deleted. With all that covered, let's now look at the item build, which starts with either a Doran's Blade, Health Potion, and a Warding Totem, or if you're against a very hard lane, a Doran's Shield, Health Potion, and a Warding Totem. For your core build, since your E ability is based off of your critical strike chance, we go for an Essence Reaver, Static Shiv, and Infinity Edge. This will give you 70% crit chance already, a bunch of attack damage, and some nice attack speed as well. Of course, you're also going to have the mana return from the Essence Reaver, so mana issues are not really going to exist for you. Now instead of that Static Shiv, you could go for either Rapid Fire Cannon or a Runaan's Hurricane. I'm a much bigger fan of going for Static Shiv personally, but both of those items are also really strong. For your boot options, you then have Berserker Grapes if you want to increase your damage and get some attack speed, or the Ninja Tabbies if you want a really solid defensive and get some nice armor. For the item pool, you first have the Phantom Dancer. This is a great way to get yourself up to 100% crit chance if you do want to. It's not necessary on Xayah, 70% crit chance is pretty damn high, but it is very viable. Of course, you could switch this out as well for either the Rapid Fire Cannon or a Runaan's Hurricane yet again. If you're then against a very tanky team and you want some lifesteal, you could get Blade of the Ruined King. This is a great way to get more feathers out quicker, and it's also going to add that extra damage onto the tanky targets, which will be pretty damn effective. Two other really solid lifesteal items would be the Bloodthirster and the Mercurial Scimitar. If I'm going for one of these, I'll usually get the Bloodthirster because it is a better offensive item and it does have a really nice defensive shield as well, but against high CC teams, you will have to go for the Mercurial Scimitar so you can break out of CCs. If you're then looking for some armor penetration, which you pretty much always will be in a game, you want either the LDR or the Mortal Reminder. I usually like to go for the LDR whenever possible because it does increase your damage a little bit more, but if you need Grievous Wounds to reduce healing, then of course go for the Mortal Reminder instead. For the last item here, we have the Guardian Angel. This is a pretty damn solid item on AD carries because it does add a lot of attack damage, but also brings you back to life if you do die in the later stages of the game. For my example full build though, I take that core build, add a Bloodthirster, and an LDR. You're going to have 70% crit chance with some decent attack speed and a ton of attack damage. Of course, later on, you're then going to get that nice lifesteal from the Bloodthirster and the armor penetration from the LDR. You don't really have any defensive items, but your damage is going to be absolutely insane. And that's everything I've got for AD carry Xayah. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you guys did enjoy the video, and please also check out the video description below. I have linked to all my social medias and of course my Twitch and my Discord server as well. If you do need any additional help, please hop into the Discord server. There are many people there that would be glad to help you. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, have a good day, and peace.